Meme Tanks 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, I guess that's the video for today. We are gonna watch some meme tanks. I love me some meme tanks. They're memey and they're tanky. And now there's an Electric Boogaloo. Nothing more to say, let's just dive right in. BT Tank Fast Boy! Oh, this is Nintendo's gonna totally fucking copyright this. M3 Elite, too tall for you.
Mini tanks are studied for their amazing combat performances, innovative designs, and impressive statistics. These tanks become legends, and have many things written about them.
Sometimes way too much.
But some tanks are memes, and due to bad design or just weird design, suffer in combat or are just funny all around. And this video is about some of the memes, a few of which you can take command of in the World War II tank and plane simulator, War Thunder, who is the sponsor of this episode. Click the link in the description to sign up and play for free, and as a bonus for signing up through me, you'll get a premium tanker aircraft and 3 days of premium, but more on the game later.
Bet the Germans wish they could have had a premium tank in World War II. Just give them to them for free.
The story of the BT tanks is almost less about them than their creator,
Speedy Boys.
J. Walter Christie. Christie had made his name building race cars after the turn of the century, and as World War I began, he shifted his creative vision from civilian vehicles to military vehicles. His crowning achievement first became known as the M1928, an extremely fast tank with thin, sloping armor that he planned to be used by the US Army for exploitation attacks through enemy lines to attack their rear and logistics. Due to a combination, though, of different Army doctrine and lack of funds, the Christie design was rejected by the United States, and a few years later he began selling them to the Soviet Union, which was rapidly expanding its military in the 30s. Christie had to sell the hulls under the guise of being agricultural tractors, as trade between the US and Soviet Union was very limited at the time, and he never sought approval from the US government to undertake this deal. Christie's 1928 then became the Soviet BT, or Fast Tank series, and had quite a few innovations for the time. They used the Christie suspension, consisting of large coil springs that were extremely fast and lightweight, to where they could pull off ridiculous stunts like these that no other tank from the time could. They also had a very strange feature that was the ability to remove the tracks of the vehicle and have it run on its road wheels using a steering wheel to drive. All of which seem like weird choices, but knowing that Christie was a previous sports car designer, it all makes more sense. The Russians then went on to build these things in the thousands, including the BT-2, BT-5, and BT-7, all with various upgrades. In practice, though, the BT tanks did not perform as well as hoped due to the scenarios they found themselves in. The highlight of their combat career, at least as far as numbers go, took place in Finland in 1940 and during Operation Barbarossa in 1941, where they were either not able to move very well and got bogged down in the case of Finland, or had to be used as defensive weapons, which they were not meant for in the Soviet Union, making the BTs the right tank for the wrong war. Highlighted by the fact that even though, as I mentioned before, the Soviets built thousands, it's fairly difficult to find one nowadays, especially in good condition, as so many were lost to the Germans in 1941. Although they did see more success in the East against the Japanese, and in Poland and in the Spanish Civil War, where they were able to be used more in their designed role. The BTs did have a few variants made, most notably the Finnish BT-42 conversion, and they heavily influenced the design of the T-34. The incredible stunts it pulled off, though, including the longest jump ever performed by a tank, solidify, at least in my opinion, its meme status.
So impressive. Beautiful. The bullet spam tank?
All combatants in World War II had some form of mobile anti-aircraft gun, such as this one for the Germans and this one for the Soviets. In 1943, the Canadians wanted in on some of that hot anti-aircraft tank action, and in the same year proposed and built one based on the Sherman tank. Well, actually the Grizzly, but that's a whole nother story. Replacing the main tank gun with 4 20mm anti-aircraft guns and adding a host of hydraulic systems to the turret to make it turn faster to engage enemy aircraft. Of the 3 built, one was sent to Europe with the 22nd Canadian Armored Regiment and saw heavy fighting and was seen as a big asset by fellow tank crews to flesh out small pockets of resistance. And I know at this point, this thing sounds completely awesome and in no way a meme.
Yeah.
And it really was pretty awesome.
Oh.
Also, you know what would be awesome? If it was put into War Thunder. I'm just saying, there's already all kinds of vehicles like this. Just War Thunder. You should put it in the game. Just put it in the game. The reason for its meme status is that by 1944, the Luftwaffe basically no longer existed. And the field reports say that although the skink performed well in the combat it was involved in, it never found any planes to shoot at, and therefore could never be combat proven in its designated role, and the project was cancelled because the Allies already had plenty of vehicles to fight ground troops with and didn't need another one. To my knowledge, there are no skinks left. One was converted into a kangaroo armored personnel carrier, and the other was used as a hard target on a firing range.
You have to make one, they send it to Europe, and guess what happens? They can't find any planes to shoot at. Oh man. Luftwaffe had been effectively destroyed.
Whoa, that tall tank looks terrible.
This one's one of my favorites. The M3 Lee looks like its designer had read a lot about tanks, studied the features of previous ones in immense detail, and had talked to other tank designers in depth about what all should be involved, but had never actually seen or been in one before. Developed very quickly as a stopgap tank in 1940 for British Lend-Lease as the Sherman was still in development and US production capabilities had not been set up yet, the Lee borrowed from previous American designs, some successful and some not, and a few features from the Sherman, which had gone through some of its trials already. It sported a 7-man crew, which was cut down to 6 in the British Grant variant when the radio operator was eliminated when the radio was put in a bustle in the turret to be used by the commander, and 2 guns, one 37mm anti-tank gun in the turret, and a 75mm in the hull. The 2 guns, although providing a lot of firepower, which is what American tanks were known for, gave the tank a very tall silhouette, which is something the British and Soviets who used them later complain about. The Soviets really didn't like this vehicle. I've seen claims before of them calling it a coffin for 7 brothers, although I've never seen that from an actual source. I have, though, heard a lot of quotes of them just talking badly about the tank, and with its high silhouette in Russia, they weren't really wrong. In fact, upon review to the British, before the tanks were sent to them, they rejected the vehicle and only accepted it once the United States told them it was literally the only tank they could produce en masse at the time. The tank featured a weird combination of old and new technology, having antiquated riveted armor in its first runs, and side escape doors throughout its entire service life. But it also used the same suspension among other features that were used to great success on the M4. The Lee saw service in North Africa, Russia, and Southeast Asia, but was replaced with better tanks, namely the Sherman, once they were available. Although they did stay in service in Southeast Asia for the duration of the war, as their shortcomings were not as obvious there. I personally love this tank because it perfectly sums up the stereotype of the United States right before World War II of being unprepared to go into conflict. And although this sentiment has various layers of truth to it, it's funny to me how with this interim tank, the US is in such a hurry to provide something that instead of focusing on core features for a designed role, they go ahead and just put everything on it, just in case. It's got the speed of a medium tank, the armament layout of an infantry support vehicle like the Char B, and at least in the initial runs, a shit ton of machine guns like an armored personnel carrier. Although that actually isn't very strange as far as American interwar tanks go, the Americans put machine guns anywhere they could stash them. But the combination created this glorious mistake that was there in a time of need that I am so happy exists.
Don't open the door. See? Everything's okay.
Do we have time for bonus
tank?
Yes, we do! Fantastic!
After the last episode, I was asked a lot to talk about this thing, the VSKFZ 617 Minenraumer. And there's not much information on it, so prepare to be disappointed. This is the Germans' attempt at a large mine-clearing vehicle, and it worked pretty much exactly how you think it would. The large pads on the wheels were meant to run over and detonate mines, clearing a path for other vehicles. The problem was that to withstand the mine blast going on directly under the vehicle, it had to be very heavily armored and therefore was extremely slow in a large target. Because of this, the project was cancelled with just one prototype made that never saw service, and it was captured at the end of the war at Kumelsdorf by the Soviets and now resides in Russia. German engineering at its finest, everybody. Now, if you would like to get a taste of what it was like to crew 2 of...
Alright, yeah. Okay, let's have a right there on the big boy here. On the big mine clearer. What I love most about the meme tanks videos is that they're not necessarily, you know, of course there are a couple just outright bad tank designs, you know, like this fucker here, but like the majority of them seem to be fairly well designed. They're just not being used in the right situations. Like the situations that they get into are not the best for them, like with the Canadian anti-air tank. By the time that saw service, the Luftwaffe was gone, as potential history pointed out. So there's no point in it. And then because of the way that the fighting was happening on the Eastern Front when Russia was using the BTs, they could not maximize its effectiveness against the oncoming Germans. So, yeah. Great video as always by Potential History. He doesn't miss. He always does a great job. That's going to be the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Leave a comment down below for what you want to see me react to next, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.